Wait, is that chocolate or a person? Welcome to the only place on Earth where chocolates are bigger than toddlers. And yes, you heard that right. This isn't CGI, this isn't a prank, this is a real factory where every single day workers create chocolates so massive they need cranes to move them. We're talking 5-foot tall bonbons, 200-pound chocolate bars, truffles the size of beach balls. And the craziest part? Every single detail you see on a normal chocolate, they recreated at this scale. Gold leaf? Check. Hand-painted designs? Check. Perfect glossy finish that would make Willy Wonka jealous? Oh, you better believe it. So how do you even make a chocolate this big without it cracking, melting, or turning into a 300-pound disaster? Stick around, because what you're about to see is genuinely insane. This is the giant chocolate factory. Before we dive into the chocolate chaos, let's get one thing straight. This factory doesn't make normal chocolates. They can't. Why? Because their smallest mold is literally 4 feet tall. Here's the first problem most people don't think about. Chocolate melts at 86 degrees Fahrenheit. Your body temperature is 98.6, so if you tried to hug one of these giant chocolates, you'd literally ruin it. That's why this entire factory is kept at exactly 63 degrees year-round. The workers, they dress like they're working in a refrigerator because, well, they basically are. Walking into this place feels like entering a meat locker, except instead of beef, there's chocolate. Lots and lots of chocolate. The air conditioning bill alone could pay for a luxury car every single month, but without it, every chocolate in here would be a melted puddle within hours. Now, you might be wondering, do they grow giant cacao beans? Do they have supersized cacao trees somewhere? Nope, they start with the same industrial chocolate blocks every factory uses, except they need approximately 800 pounds of it for a single piece. To put that in perspective, the average person eats about 12 pounds of chocolate per year. One of these giant bonbons contains enough chocolate for 66 people for an entire year. And that creates our second problem. How do you melt 800 pounds of chocolate without burning it? The answer? Very, very carefully. We're talking temperature controlled to 1/10 of a degree, because if this chocolate hits 120 degrees instead of 115, that's $3,000 worth of chocolate gone. So yeah, no pressure or anything. Step 1. Turn solid chocolate into liquid chocolate without creating a disaster. Sounds simple, right? It's not. They use heated knives to chop the blocks because regular knives would shatter the chocolate. And when your chocolate costs $15 a pound, shattering is not an option. Each block weighs 50 pounds. That's like a medium-sized dog, made entirely of chocolate. The workers who chop these blocks have done it so many times, they can tell if the chocolate is properly tempered just by the sound it makes when they cut it. A good block sounds like breaking glass. A bad block sounds dull and crumbly. Your ears become your quality control. These chunks get loaded into tanks that are basically the world's most expensive hot tubs, except instead of relaxation, there's just stress. Over the next 6 hours, yes, 6 hours, these chunks slowly melt at exactly 113 degrees. Why so slow? Because rushing it would create air bubbles. And air bubbles in a 5-foot chocolate, that's a crack waiting to happen. And cracks mean the whole thing's trash. Think about it. You can't just blast 800 pounds of chocolate with heat and hope for the best. The outside would melt while the inside stayed solid. Then when the inside finally melted, the outside would be overheated and burnt. It's like trying to defrost a turkey. Patience is everything. This stirring paddle moves so slowly you can barely see it, but it's constantly mixing, constantly keeping the temperature even. Stop stirring for 10 minutes, you've got burnt chocolate on the bottom and solid chocolate on top. The paddle moves at exactly 2 rotations per minute. That's so slow you could take a nap and wake up and it would only have rotated 20 times. But that slow movement is creating perfect consistency. Every molecule of chocolate experiencing the exact same temperature, the exact same amount of movement. Once it's fully melted, here comes the fun part, tempering. And if you think tempering normal chocolate is hard, try tempering 800 pounds of it. For those who don't know, tempering is the process of organizing the fat crystals in chocolate so it sets properly. Get it wrong and your chocolate looks dull, feels grainy, and melts in your hands. Get it right and you get that perfect snap, that mirror shine, that melt in your mouth texture. This machine cost more than most people's houses, and its only job? Heat chocolate to 115 degrees, cool it to 81, then reheat it to 89. That's it. 3 temperatures. That's all it does. But it does it with such precision that it can detect a temperature variation of 0.2 degrees anywhere in that 800-pound mass. But here's the thing, if anywhere in that 800 pounds is off by even 3 degrees, the whole batch fails. The chocolate won't be glossy, it won't snap, it'll just be sad. Imagine baking a cake the size of a car and needing every single part of it to be exactly the same temperature. That's the challenge here. When it's perfect, it looks like this. Liquid silk, flowing like lava with a shine that would make a mirror jealous. This worker just dipped a knife to test the temper. See how it dries in 3 seconds with a perfect shine? That's $3,000 worth of chocolate getting the green light. If it takes 5 seconds to dry or if the shine is dull, the entire batch goes back to melting. Start over, no shortcuts. Now we need to talk about these molds, because calling them molds feels like calling the Grand Canyon a ditch. Each one is 5 feet tall, weighs 60 pounds empty, and costs $12,000. Why so expensive? Because the interior needs to be so perfectly smooth that you could use it as a mirror. Any scratch, any imperfection, and it shows up on the chocolate. These molds are made from polycarbonate plastic that's been polished to a level of smoothness normally reserved for telescope lenses. That's why workers spend 20 minutes polishing each mold before every use. They're not making chocolate, they're making chocolate mirrors. The polishing cloth costs $80, just the cloth, because it needs to be lint-free, scratch-free, and specially treated. One speck of dust, one tiny fiber from a regular cloth, and that shows up on the finished chocolate as a blemish. But wait, it gets weirder. Before the chocolate even goes in, they're airbrushing colored cocoa butter inside the molds. Gold, silver, rose gold, they're basically spray painting the inside of a $12,000 mold. Why? Because when the chocolate comes out, these colors will be on the chocolate. It's reverse decorating. Your brain just got twisted, didn't it? The colored cocoa butter is tempered separately at a different temperature than the chocolate. It's applied in layers so thin you could measure them in microns. Each color takes 45 seconds to apply. 3 colors means over 2 minutes of airbrushing, and the artists doing this can't sneeze, can't shake, can't make a single mistake. One wobble, one uneven spray, and the pattern is ruined. Can't fix it. Have to start over. Now comes the moment of truth. 800 pounds of perfectly tempered chocolate meeting a $12,000 mold. This pour takes 4 full minutes. The chocolate stream is thicker than your arm, and the whole time, everyone's holding their breath. The chocolate flows at a rate of 3 gallons per minute. Any faster and it splashes, any slower and it starts to cool unevenly. The person doing the pouring has been doing this for 8 years. Their hands don't shake, their eyes don't blink, pure concentration. When it's done, this mold goes onto a vibration table. This thing shakes so hard it looks like the mold's having a seizure, but it's actually saving the chocolate. Every air bubble trapped inside is being shaken to the surface. Miss even one bubble, and when this chocolate cools, that bubble becomes a crack. The vibration table operates at 120 vibrations per second. That's faster than a hummingbird's wings. It vibrates for exactly 90 seconds. Too short and bubbles remain. Too long and the chocolate starts to set unevenly. During these 90 seconds, hundreds of tiny bubbles rise to the surface and pop, each one a potential disaster avoided. Then, plot twist, they flip it upside down. Gravity pulls out the excess chocolate, leaving behind just a shell. This shell needs to be exactly 2 inches thick. Too thin, it breaks. Too thick, it's too heavy to move. The draining process takes 8 minutes. They time it with a stopwatch. 8 minutes and 15 seconds is too long, 7 minutes and 45 seconds is too short. During this time, the chocolate that drains out is collected and recycled back into the tempering machine. Nothing goes to waste. So how do they nail it? Experience. This guy has been making giant chocolate shells for 15 years. He knows by sound when it's perfect. When chocolate drains, it makes a specific sound as it flows. The pitch changes as the shell thickens. When the sound hits a certain frequency, he knows it's exactly 2 inches thick. He can hear the difference between 1.8 inches and 2 inches. That's a skill you can't teach. That's 15 years of listening to chocolate drain. While that shell cools, let's talk about what goes inside this chocolate monster. This mixer contains 400 pounds of ganache. That's enough normal-sized truffles to fill a bathtub. Actually, someone calculated it once.